quiet, T-Bear.
Oh, what's he doing? Who's he killing now?
No, there's probably someone walking down the street.
Within a
so
5-block radius.
It's totally justified. Yesterday, a leaf blew across the street. He lost his mind for 20 minutes.
A very threatening leaf, by the way.
Yeah, see, for most people, January 6th is the anniversary of whatever happened at that place by those people. But for us, it's the anniversary of our dog's ACL surgery. So,
oh, there you go. And it's the anniversary of my vasectomy. So,
yeah,
a special day for all of us, really. Yeah.
There it is. Yeah.
Before he does the vasectomy, the doctor goes, "All right, it's last chance to bail." I went, "No, I'm here. Let's go."
Okay. Check one more thing here on my thing. Hey, I got our water bill today.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Biden. Never got a $70 water bill ever. Got it this month. I know they raised the rates. They did raise the rates.
The city's always looking out for you, pal.
Well, you know what? I'm calling for a boycott of water.
I think that's one of the 2 revenue-producing departments the city has.
Yeah. Okay, ready?
I am.
It is the Brad and Britt cast. We're glad you're with us. Our last one this week, our last one this year. Yada, so funny. I have 3 too stupid to talk about.
Oh, good.
3, which means we're going to talk about all 3, right?
Absolutely.
All right, the 3 that are too stupid to talk about. Fake outrage at Keith Olbermann.
Mm-hmm.
Robert E. Lee's going black and he ain't coming back. And Ted Cruz on a roll that's so stupid, it's too stupid even for Ted Cruz.
Let's do Robert E. Lee first.
And Robert E. Lee? Oh,
yeah.
You're gonna love it. Here we go. So, what was this, about a 4-year story that started when they finally decided they're going to take down the Robert E. Lee statue in Richmond? It's
a wild one.
Long time coming. And by the way, this kind of parallels what's happened in North Carolina with the Silent Sam statue, which is also a Confederate soldier, which is at the University of North Carolina, since it was decided to say, fuck you to Reconstruction and let's salute the Confederate soldiers who went to UNC and fought for the Confederacy, blah, blah. It's same thing. And what are you going to do with this statue after you take it down? Where's it going to go? Where's it going to live? This is so good. The Robert E. Lee statue is going to the Black History Museum and Cultural Center of Virginia. And they're going to take any Confederate memorial statues that want in. You don't even have to have your TripAdvisor app downloaded to get in there. If you're a Confederate statue, you can just walk right in. No reservations necessary. The outgoing governor, Ralph Northam, and by the way, there is a great, I accept his apology, and I completely have turned around my opinion of Ralph Northam column from Jonathan Capehart, the editorial writer for the Washington Post, who is doing lots of work on MSNBC. Because when you think where Ralph Northam came, because it was in his first year that picture of him when he was in college in blackface at a party, right? He was the number one racist in America. All the way through, he said, please don't kick me out of office. Please don't make me resign. I swear I'm not that guy. I will. And Capehart said, you know what? He did it. He lived up to it. And this would be his final act, right? At the end of the year, he signs off on the Robert fucking E. Lee statue going to the Black History Museum and Cultural Center of Virginia. Yes, sir. Nice job. Nice job.
So you fully support this move? You think this is the right way to go? Well,
absolutely. Now, the problem is, of course, there is some concern that the statue of Robert E. Lee is not going to be given the best room in the house. Is he going to
be put in the back of the bus or something? You think maybe?
Well, it's not the back of the bus.
Oh,
this happened to you. It's happened to all of us. Sometimes you check into a hotel, and they give you one of those rooms that is a handicapped room, which is good for handicapped people, but you don't want it. You don't need it. It's not necessary. And so I'm just afraid that he's not going to get the best accommodations at that Black History Museum. But then on the other hand, he might, because he's a guest. He's an honored guest.
Sure he is. That's the deal.
Yeah.
Let's do
story number 2. Yeah. You want the Keith Olbermann?
Let's do Keith Olbermann. Let's talk about Keith Olbermann here.
I love this one. So Olbermann tweets out the other day that somebody ought to gift Mitt Romney and his people some vasectomies. Okay.
Speaking
kind of a joke. Kind of a joke, because I know that it's not a well-known fact, and it's bigoted to mention the fact that Mormons have the biggest fucking families of any group of religious people in the world, right? Is there anybody? They passed the Catholics a long time ago.
Yeah, they did. Sure, they did.
Way more. So he puts that up. So that turns into, oh my God, what a bigot. Oh my God, he hates children. And not only that, he's childless himself. How does he know? Has he never felt the love of a child? Blah, 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 blah. Now, how do I know this story? How did I come across it? It's because I got a notification on my phone, one of those bullshit, deceptive, completely fucked up, overblown, pointless notifications over nothing. And of course, it came from Fox News. And the notification said, ex-liberal cable star mocks Republicans' family in tweet that's garnering plenty of backlash. Of course, you go to the story, you know what the backlash is. They go to one or two Republican has-beens and they give them a quote. And that's back. No, it's not. It's not a story. It's a nothing. And you know what? I don't know Mitt Romney that well, but I would bet that even Mitt Romney would find that kind of amusing. It's kind of, it's like, would Mitt Romney say, I deny that I have a lot of children. I deny that all my children have a lot. No, that's a lie. He needs to apologize for that. It's factually not true. And a vasectomy would be the Book of Mormon, you know, right after the magic underwear chapter says no vasectomies allowed. No vasectomy. What the fuck? that is too stupid to talk about, isn't it?
It is pretty damn stupid, I have to say. Yeah, they've been dragging this guy. I believe childless boomer was the big insult that was thrown at.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, suck on that, bitch.
yeah, gotcha there. All right, third one, too stupid to talk about.
Well, this one may actually be not. This one may be okay. This one may be okay to talk about, I think.
You think so?
I think it's a good one.
All right, then I'll lateral the ball to you on the Marjorie Taylor Greene story, the latest. And I know we're not supposed to give her the attention that she craves, because that's all she cares about. She's a useless, bigoted, horrible human being that shouldn't be in Congress. We know that, but this is called Too Stupid to Talk About, which means we talk about it.
Well, I thought we were talking about Ted Cruz. I thought we were going to do Ted Cruz.
Okay. We'll get to Ted Cruz, but do the Marjorie Taylor Greene story, the one where she says the people that move from blue states like New York and California to Texas, they shouldn't even be allowed to fucking vote. Okay,
yes.
They should pay extra taxes. That's the kind of, right. She tweets that out, and people take it seriously. It's not a thing. It's not a thing. It's like saying, the Kansas City Chiefs should be forced to bench Patrick Mahomes because he has a hot wife girlfriend. It makes me, so what? I don't care. It doesn't mean anything. I'm just trying to think of the most irrelevant, dumb shit. Yeah, national divorce between. Yes. How about a civil war? How about let's take up? Fuck you. It's too stupid to talk about.
National divorce is talked about often privately, but not publicly. So I took a poll. Many users blasted her comments as promotion of another civil war, as you point out, and pointed out that her own historically Republican state voted for President Biden in the 2020 election. Of course, I think she would probably tell you again that Georgia, the vote was stolen, and there were a bunch of black people at midnight that shipped in ballots and all the other shit that's gone down when it comes to Georgia.
Well, can I say this? Bringing that up, that Georgia gave its electoral votes to Biden, is not an argument against what she said. Okay, that's not the point.
But Brad, she lives in a blue state. She lives in a blue state.
The point, the thing is, there are no actual red and blue states.
Well, yeah, but that's her.
Remember, more people voted for Donald Trump in California than any other state. So if you want to play these stupid games of, if somebody wins inside a state by 8,000 votes, then it's stupid.
She would be the one, but she would be the one that perpetuates the whole idea of red versus blue, and the blue states need to go this way, and the red states need to go. Well, you're in a blue state, bitch. Your state voted for president. It's got 2 senators that are blue. So you're the one that's perpetuating this shit. If you want to have a national divorce, you'll be grouped in with California and New York and Massachusetts and all these other places that you hate. She's the one that would perpetuate the whole red-blue situation. They always do this shit all the time. They're like, well, you people can have these entertainers and we'll have these entertainers and you go your way. And it's people like her. She's the one that's ascribing all of this shit. But she's moronic and never thinks anything through anyway.
I disagree. She's a thoughtful, wonderful person.
I feel very badly.
Love your church.
Yeah, I feel very bad that she's covering up. I think Lauren Boebert has some really stupid ideas that are just not getting out there because she's taking away all the oxygen in the room.
That's funny because if somebody had a lot of time on their hands, they would drill down and find out who is in the lead in that race to get the most publicity for the dumbest shit. It's kind of like the right-wing political equivalent of the sausage versus the bratwurst versus the hot dog race at the baseball game in between innings. So what? It's too stupid.
I would have said through June, I would have said Boebert was keeping up with her, but I think the last half of the year, Marjorie Taylor Greene started kicking ass. I think that's when we got all the great Holocaust shit and all this stupid, oh my God. And then she apologized for the Holocaust thing and then didn't really and went back and doubled down on it. And, all this other shit. So I think she's our champion. She's our Time Magazine Idiot of the Year, isn't she?
I think we're just going to give her leader in the clubhouse because it's not over. You can't call it over. All right.
But speaking of idiots, there's another guy on the outside. Yeah.
Right. Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
First of all, and this isn't too stupid to talk about. It's just interesting to mention because it kind of will make you feel good. His daughter probably hates Ted Cruz as much as anybody. She went on TikTok and said, I don't always like living in his house. I disagree with everything he says.
Wow.
Okay. Now, if you have children, you don't expect them to agree with everything you say.
No.
But when they say they disagree with everything you say, everything, not one thing, then That's a problem. That's a problem. So we salute Ted Cruz's dog, but that's not the story. That's not the stupid one.
No.
He confused Western Australia with Washington State.
Correct.
In an attempt to whack the Democrats over COVID restrictions last night, which was Wednesday night as we speak. He falsely suggested that Washington State had banned dancing at private parties on New Year's Eve. The tweet said, "Blue state Dems are power-drunk, authoritarian killjoys. Washington State, no dancing allowed. Any rational and free citizen, piss off."
Mm-hmm.
He, of course, deleted it, so we're really not supposed to be talking about it, right, Britt? Because
it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist if he deleted it.
Right. Well, it turns out that the abbreviation that he saw in a news story, WA government, it was Western Australia.
Yeah.
It's a state in Australia, Western Australia, from the government of Western Australia, not the state of Washington. Of course, the postal abbreviation for state of Washington is WA.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that the out on this, and this is the old classic Limbaugh, well, it's not actually true, but it could be true.
It should be true, and it could be true. Yeah.
Right. It should be true that the state of Washington, because they have a complete communist governor, that Jay Inslee, right?
Exactly.
He's a climate change wacko. So therefore, it would make sense that even if it was Australia that said this, isn't that usually the default comeback when you get caught doing something so blindly stupid? And by the way, nice work there with your Harvard law degree, Ted. That's why you were the smartest guy in the room. That's why Alan Dershowitz liked you so much, because you'd fuck up like Dershowitz has in the last few days. Apparently, they brought him on the BBC to comment about the Ghislaine Maxwell verdict yesterday, and he's been fucking named in a couple of the interviews with some of the girls. Now, he's saying he had nothing to do with this and nothing, but you don't want to bring someone on who technically really is part of the story, and the BBC in a very un-American way actually apologize for putting Dershowitz on. Good for them. They should have done the research and made sure that Dershowitz wasn't on.
I have an update to the Ted Cruz story. Within the past couple of hours, he has posted this particular tweet. I'll show it for those that are watching live.
Oh, no, please let it be what we were thinking.
This New Year's Eve, put on your dancing shoes. He's making fun of himself by showing a clip from the movie Footloose featuring Kevin Bacon, which, as you know, Brad, it was a bunch of liberals not letting kids dance. That was the point of that movie. This New Year's, put on your... Ted Cruz knows how to laugh at himself, you humorless liberal who just does not get the joke.
Were those the same liberals that were in charge in the Dirty Dancing film also?
That's correct. That is exactly right. The same tight-ass liberals who tried to throw Johnny what's-his-name and Baby right out of camp there at beautiful Lake Lure, North Carolina. There it is. He's making fun of himself, Brad, because he's a self-deprecating son of a bitch who does not take himself too seriously.
Britt, go on there and respond to Cruz like this. Everybody puts Cruz in a corner. Okay. Everybody can put Cruz in the corner. He's so easy. You know what? He's like having a little brother who you can keep tricking over and over and over again.
Why are you
to do the stupidest thing?
Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself? I don't know why you're hitting yourself. Why are you hitting yourself? This was again, and remember, 2021 was the year that he decided that in the middle of like the worst freeze in the history of Texas, he's going to head to Cancun. Then he initially lied about it. Oh, my family insisted, and then he eventually had to apologize and go back on that.
Britt, for most people, that would have been your whole year. That would have been enough.
No,
that would have been enough. But Diana.
When he tries to put a punctuation at the end of these things is when he gets in trouble, because he went to some conference in Orlando. Remember, some conservative conference. He goes, "Well, sure, it's better here than it is in Cancun." Tee hee. So he continues to try to polish the turd, getting some Brasso, getting some cloth, and he continues to fuck up all over the place. But that's Raphael. Happy 2022 to you, buddy.
All right.
Put on your
All right.
dancing shoes.
All right. So we usually don't open with a series of too stupid to talk about stories, but being that this is our last shot in 2022, and in the permanent archives at the National Archives where they keep all of our programs, we wanted this to be kind of a wrap up show. So
exactly
to talk about. What do you got?
Well, this one is not too stupid to talk about, and I wish we didn't have to. The U.S. hitting a record number of new COVID cases. That, of course, is the headline that many people know about. That first week in January of 2021 was a miserable week, and we peaked right around the same time that the insurrection happened on January the 6th. It has to be one of the most miserable weeks in American history, and we finish out 2021 on a high note, unfortunately, for COVID cases, a record number of new ones. They're still they have not said anything in New York about, they've scaled back Times Square, but they haven't called it off, right? The big, huge ball drop and all that bullshit.
Yeah, well, you know what? They'll do what they have to do a TV show, and that's probably about it. But let me, with that as the headline, and with cable news, at least two of the three, the third one doesn't even acknowledge that there is a problem, right? Not a problem.
Right.
Here is the big question, and this is posed in several quarters, including the New York Times. The question is, does the number of reported daily cases, which makes the headline, which you bit on, which you took the bait and went with.
Yeah, I did.
Does it mean anything anymore? Because I don't know, a lot of people are not aware of this, but that number is based on the voluntary giving out of information by individuals and hospitals. And in other words, there are clearly millions of people who test themselves. And this is not related to how many tests you can buy right now at Walgreens. A lot of people are testing themselves constantly. And most people don't report what happens. So you could argue, one way is that the number is way, way higher. And therefore, because we're seeing the lower number, we're either deluding ourselves into not realizing how bad it really is, or there are lots of people who get tested. They either do the right thing, quarantine themselves. They don't go to a doctor. They don't go to a hospital. They realize what the right thing to do is. It's not to crowd an emergency room. They just cease their activities, or they slow things down, and they get over it. So I think, and you've heard this 25 different ways, the important numbers now are number of people showing up at the hospital, number of people being admitted to the hospital, number of people having to go into intensive care, and number of people who have to go get themselves oxygenated because they're really in trouble. And is the proportion of people that's happening to who are unvaccinated holding steady? And for most part, the answer is yes. Most every hospital, most every doctor that you'll see will still say that of the sickest of the sick, they're almost always unvaccinated, which the flip side of that is, and this goes back to several different examples that we've talked about over the years, which is if one person blanks, then we have to, turn over the table and change everything. So if one person who is fully vaccinated, which by the way, now is clearly going to be, if it isn't already at this hour, 3 vaccinations, or 2 if you're Johnson & Johnson. There was good news on the Johnson & Johnson second shot this day. That's a good thing. But if one person who is vaccinated gets COVID, that's proof that if I'm one of these unvaccinated idiots out, why should I get
one?
Don't
work. Vaccinations don't work. What's up?
And we can't seem to bridge the gap of ignorance between the purpose of the vaccine, which is to keep you from getting
Dying.
really, really sick, dying, going to the hospital. It doesn't always prevent you from it's like saying, we can always go to the seatbelt comparison. How could you even get into a car accident? You were wearing a seatbelt.
Yeah.
Think about, but wait a minute. It doesn't prevent accidents. Nobody said you wouldn't ever get into a car accident.
Wait a minute. I know a guy like in Iowa. He died and he was wearing a seatbelt. So I don't know why the fuck we're wearing these seatbelts. Why would we wear a seatbelt?
No. You're not hearing me. You're not hearing me.
No, that is the comparison. I know.
Right, I have my own show. I won't get answered with an off-point remark.
Go ahead.
Because it's the preventive nature of seatbelts or vaccines. Vaccines are supposed to 100% stop you from getting the virus, right? According to the most ignorant. And it would be as if you decided the reason I'm not going to wear a seatbelt, which is like not getting vaccinated, is because people still get in car accidents who are wearing seatbelts. It doesn't prevent you from getting into an accident. It's what happens after the accident. Sure. And so I don't know how you bridge that gap. If you have any ideas, I'll just sit back here and drink my sarsaparilla.
I think this is. I think you're familiar with this radio station, WKSU, out of Ohio.
My first gig. That's my first gig. My true first gig. Yeah.
Governor DeWine will deploy more Ohio National Guard to help with the COVID pandemic. And the governor said, I think his statistic was 92.5% of people in Ohio who are hospitalized are unvaccinated. Something along the lines of that statistic. It's 92.5%. Well, yeah. Something in there.
Well, okay. Well, that's proof that, so 8% of the people that are in the hospital are vaccinated. So why should I get a vaccination? I mean, that's
so you
right.
You saw you saw the Boston Celtics shot 4 of 42 from the 3-point range last night. You saw that in one of the worst performances.
I didn't, but I don't have a calculator here. That doesn't seem like a very high percentage.
I think I worked it out. It's about 9.5%.
Is that what we have?
So so the vaccinated people are doing slightly better than the Boston Celtics from 3-point range.
That's an analogy that I can live.
There you go.
Get it. So you are better off not shooting a 3-pointer.
Yes.
They've done that calculation a million times on how many 3-point shots you can miss.
Yep.
And it's still better that you take them because, getting 3 points instead of 2. And obviously they've all decided that 3-point shots are really great because that's what the NBA is now. It's basically just 3-point shots with an occasional dunk, right? But
there's John the Catholic, the spokesperson for Big Pharma, solidifying what you said. At this point, you got to focus on the hospitalizations and the deaths. That's the important thing. There are going to be some people that test positive that are asymptomatic, and of course, the isolation for that has gone down, and that's the stuff that's happening. But still, the healthcare system in America is overwhelmed.
It is. Because I look at it like this. I look at it like a fraction. Okay.
Yeah.
In school, in a fraction, right? There's a line, and on top is the numerator, and on the bottom is the denominator, right? So, on top, that's the number of hospitalizations and or deaths, and on the bottom is the denominator, and that's getting gigantic because that's just the number of people who are testing positive, getting Omicron, and just the number of people. And if that number gets too gigantic, okay, even if the numerator on top, which is the number of people going into the hospital, even if that only doubles or triples, well, it's because that bottom number is so gigantic, it still looks like a smaller percentage of people who are getting COVID are going to the hospital. But if it's such a big number, what you just said is the result. You still get more people in the hospital. So it is the law of numbers. You can't fight it. And I guess the decision that they made yesterday to say 10 days down to 5 days.
Yeah.
I think it's the right call. I think it's the right call because if you have something that's spreading so quickly now, you're not going to stop it by ordering people, causing social distrust, unrest, and basically, fuck you, I hate government even more than it is. This is a question of toughing it through. And since we've now seen that whether it's a police department, a fire department, an airline, big box stores, which are trimming their hours or closing up right now because they don't have enough people to work in them. This isn't a case of, oh, well, that's okay. We're cool with having a lot of positive tested people running around in important jobs, infecting other people. That's the flippant view of the change in the rules. They've looked at the numbers. They've looked at South Africa. They've looked at Israel and how it spreads after how many days that you've tested positive. And yeah, you have to, you got to make some trade-offs here, which, by the way, last time I checked, isn't that what they were screaming for a year ago and a year and a half ago? Yes. So now it's being done, and it's being done really sadly, although it doesn't feel that way, under better circumstances because 200 million of us in the United States, we're kind of still in the game, but we don't count quite as much as the unvaccinated who, again, are still the problem, continue to be the problem, and will be the main spreaders of COVID until it either dies out. And I don't know if it ever dies out. We don't know that. It might not. We might be dealing with this kind of forever, getting booster shots forever, which at some point they're not boosters anymore. They're just shots. Okay. Yeah. But they've been the problem. The criticism of the Biden administration now is they put all their eggs in the vaccination basket instead of the testing basket and the therapeutics basket. That's the criticism. Criticism accepted. I get it. But not that many people foresaw this kind of variant doing what it did. Some people did. And of course, it's like after every stock market crash, you can always find some guy who wrote an article or who went on TV the week before and said, it's coming. You know why? Because every week there is an article by a guy saying it's about to crash. So eventually it does. And so they're the sage. There was a woman in 1987, right before the crash of 87, which is the day that the Dow Jones lost, was it 28% in one day, which today would be, 12,000 points or something. It's some fucking unbelievable number. Her name was Elaine Garzarelli. Okay. Elaine Garzarelli. And she lived off of that prediction for 20 years. Now you've never heard of her. The big short guy has gotten a lot more mileage out of what he said about the housing crash and making money off of it than Elaine Garzarelli did before the 87 stock market crash. And there are people right now calling for that. And there are people who along the road during the coronavirus, they said, the most important thing is not only get everybody vaccinated, but we can't. So therefore we have to be more concerned about treatments and testing. And we all remember that clip of Nancy Pelosi where, what did she say? Testing, testing, testing. Remember that? And who made fun of her for that? Who?
Everybody.
Fucking Fox
News.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, they did. So,
but she was 100% right.
Plenty of blame to go around.
As far as the Regeneron stuff, which was touted by so many people, even Eli Lilly says that stuff is not as effective against Omicron. They've already warned that their initial studies were showing that the Regeneron stuff, which was such a Hail Mary or such a boon, and it was something that the right wingers were posting about and talking about. And I know that in Florida, the DeSantis was talking about that. Eli Lilly has already said the initial studies are showing it's not as effective against Omicron. So that's happening. I'll throw you a bone on this one. This is again another misleading headline. This is from, I think, WRAL. 6 people are testing positive for COVID-19 each minute in North Carolina. That means nothing. That's a statistic that absolutely means nothing, right? They're just trying that is the kind of alarmist shit that people kind of throw at the media. I think because what you were talking about is exactly right. It's the hospitalizations, it's the deaths, it's the severe sickness that matters.
Right. So 6 people, is it per minute? It said
that's what the headline tells us from the good people at WRAL.
So there's 60 minutes in an hour. So that's 3,600 per hour, right? Times 24 hours. So that's 86,400 people per day in North Carolina testing positive. Does that sound right? How could that be? Because wasn't the national number at one what did it hit 400,000, something like that? So are you telling me that 25%, 20% of the people in the country testing positive are in North Carolina? I don't think so. So not only are you correct in saying it's a bullshit, pointless statistic, it's just numerically wrong. It absolutely is numerically wrong, unless what I said, which is nobody is reporting this, and maybe they have a magical formula on how to calculate the number of people who aren't saying that they're testing positive are testing positive. So yeah, we're swimming in a sea of pointless bullshit that isn't helpful to people. As sitting back where I am, pretty much in a bubble, I go out and I go to the store and I go to the gym and I come right home, and I don't have to, I'm kind of lucky in that way. But if more people just dialed it back a little bit for a little bit longer, this whole thing about, oh, it's been 2 years, Americans, we can't take it anymore. We can't take it. Hey, fuck, World War II lasted 4 years in the for Americans, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? It sucked, and life sucked, and God damn it, this isn't as bad as World War II.
But you also,
except for the fact that twice as many people are already dead from it. Okay, except for that.
But you know that there were some people, and there's again it's probably, I don't know if it's as bad now as then, but there were some people in the 40s like, I want sugar and meat, and I can't believe that motherfucker Truman is not letting me have sugar and meat, and these rubber drives and scrap drives are dumb as shit, and why do we have to there were probably some people like that. What percentage? I'm tired of eating spam. God damn it, I want real meat. I'm sure again that there were some people out there that were crying about that, and they were like, "What is not eating meat getting us? I don't understand how that helps us beat the Nazis."
Yeah, how many German soldiers are killed because I didn't have a steak last night? What's up with that?
There had to be some dumb motherfucker. I don't think there was an entire network perpetuating it. I don't think that was happening back then. I don't think there was an apparatus fueling that shit on social media, obviously, to people. But I'm sure that kind of thing happened. Oh, speaking of which, we have to check in with our former friend Greg Hunter on his website, his stupid ass website. I'll give him a plug. I don't give a shit. USAWatchdog.com. Greg's very troubled, Brad. He can't. His hero is pro-vaccine. His hero is touting the vaccine, Brad.
Hold on a second here. I'm 100% familiar with this because I actually looked at it a few days ago, and I was trying to decide whether we should talk about it, okay? Because Greg used to be a friend of ours. I haven't spoken to him now for 5 years because he's completely lost his fucking mind.
He's nuts.
But I saw this right after I was formulating my piece that I wrote about the dilemma that the Trumpers were going to have because Trump told that whack job Candace Owens that he told Bill O'Reilly, right? And then got questioned about it by Candace Owens that, I got the 3rd shot. Everybody should get vaccinated. Of course, he always throws in a little qualifier at the end because it's your own choice, but blah, 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 blah. But it really posed a problem for the Greg Hunters of the world because they've made their bones on being anti-vaccine. Now, is Greg vaccinated himself? I have no idea. But in that piece, he brought up and if you put it back up on the screen here, I'll tell you what it is. He brought up what is supposedly an ingredient in there that they're not telling us about. Yeah. It's called, graphene, Graphene. It's at the bottom of the screen there.
Graphene.
The reason is that graphene stays in your system forever and acts like razor blades throughout your body. Okay, so I looked up what the fuck. So I looked up graphene, and of course, it's a conspiracy theory. It's a debunked conspiracy theory. And of course, it's just bullshit. It's just total bullshit. Poor Greg. You know, what are they going to do?
What do you mean, poor Greg? Fuck that guy. Poor Greg. He's playing the Jesus card on this thing too. That's the other thing. Right. Is he's totally God is on his side on this whole situation. This is what he writes.
But
in
you know
post.
What? I have some words for God. Got vaccinated. In fact, because he's God, he's already on his 5th shot.
Yeah, that's right. He's
not even all the 4th after the 3rd. He got 5 shots.
This is what he's
knows that.
This is what he's saying. Who cares if there are more vaccine deaths and injuries by orders of magnitude for the COVID-19 experimental jabs than all vaccines combined in the past 30 years? Do you know that, Brad?
The answer is nobody cares because that's not true.
That's not a true statement. Does it work? Not if you consider just this week that Senators Warren and Booker got their COVID-19 booster 3rd shot and are now sick with COVID, Brad.
There you go. See?
And of course, as you know, the story is that Booker is on his deathbed. He's being ventilated, and he's just minutes away from death. Right? That's been
Elizabeth Warren, right? But they're covering it up.
They're covering all of that up. He also points out that triple vax Jim Cramer, who wants forced vaccinations on all Americans, just came down with COVID. And again, there's the story.
Britt, Cramer's not on this week. You know what?
Well, because he gets a vacation.
He announced this about 10 days ago because I watch him, and he never missed a day. But he stayed home. And they've got a studio set up for him at home for TV that's fantastic. So it looks great.
For his family. His family having to hear that shit.
More important on the Jim Cramer positive COVID test story is that he got caught up in the whole sequence of testing negative, being around people that he works with, being at a party, and then finding out that he immediately after he was positive. So he feels terrible, and rightfully so. This is how you should be, that there's no way to know 100% all the time. And you could be inadvertently at your workplace or elsewhere being a spreader, but he, that's the great thing. Greg picks 3 examples of people who 2 of them are 65 or over, Elizabeth Warren and Cramer, and Cory Booker was an athlete and a football player.
Correct.
And all of them, of course, are triple vaccinated, and all of them are doing the continuum. They're doing just fine. My daughter, just fine. Triple vaxxed just this week. She's doing fine. But the problem is we're talking to ourselves on this because if you're of the mind to not get vaccinated, you will believe anything that you want that you think bolsters your case, including and starting now with the granddaddy of them all, person X got COVID and they were vaccinated, so therefore it doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Right.
I don't know, I don't know how you turn that around. And the only thing that turns it around is dumb luck. Is dumb luck that the virus recedes, and that the number of hospitalizations never goes off the charts so much that we lose workers and we lose doctors and we lose nurses and technicians and the point where I guess the best advice now is don't get sick with anything else but COVID either.
Yeah.
Because if you got to walk, if you've had don't have a heart attack this weekend. It's a bad weekend to have a heart attack. I'm telling you, take it from me.
I mean, the big news last winter was it was like one of the best winters for humans anyway, for flu. The flu virus didn't do very well at all because we were all inside our homes. We didn't go out as much. People were working from home. People wore the masks in the stores and shit like that. But there's a lot of dire predictions about people who are not heeding the warnings and flu coming in and mixing with Delta and Omicron. And, there's various stuff going on there.
I would love to see a Venn diagram, the two circles that intersect, of people who have most of their adult lives gotten flu shots, but now they won't get a COVID shot. And if you've been a person who's gotten flu shots up until now, and you're refusing to get a COVID shot, are you now refusing to get a flu shot too? Because you need to be consistent, because they're all an evil plot. They all broadcast your bowel movements to Bill Gates and Warren Buffett.
Oh, right, bowel movements
in the dark. Right.
Bowel movements in the dark they had that really great one hit in the 80s. I touch you once, I touch you twice.
I thought that was the hit by Springsteen.
Did you see? You saw they had a great study in the New York Times where they really went into digging deep on the people who were vaccine resistant. They didn't do they watch Fox News or they're old or whatever. They really tried to go into some sort of sociological. And the statistic that got me was that there are 25% of Americans, adult Americans, are afraid of needles. And that leads to 16% of adults not getting vaccines or delaying vaccines that they should get. That's a significant number of people just because of needles, right? That's a significant number of human beings. 16%. I mean, that could make a big difference.
I accept the number. I accept the research, but people go into the hospital all the time.
Yeah,
and I'm guessing that some of these 16% go into a hospital, and I'll bet you, even though on a survey they say I'm afraid of needles, they get needles in a hospital. You just do. That's what it is. That's what it's all about. If you're that sick. So, I guess I would just chalk that up over to my left here on the pile of stupidity that. Oh, so what do you know what you do? And by the way, I'm not a fan of needles. Who's a fan of needles? That's the point. Nobody is a fan of needles. You know what I do? I always look the other way. Is that what you do when you get the shot? I don't look at them.
I have to. Sometimes I have to watch, and I've always contended this, and I can't get anybody to dance with me on this. When we were kids, I'm old enough to remember they had these little air guns where they would give us the vaccinations. Did you ever get a shot with the air gun?
What, the thing that leaves the circular mark?
The little circle, yes, that little thing, and it makes a little psst, like that noise when it goes in.
Well, as a Jew, when I was getting the mark of the beast tattooed on my ass. In Hebrew school.
The Mark of the Beast on your ass. Which a great album by Iron Maiden. I mean, I think it's their best, to be honest. No, my contention is that the air gun hurts more than a needle. And I'll say that till I die. Maybe it was the fact that I was 8. Maybe that had something to do with it. But I think the air guns hurt more than
I got another Venn diagram possibility. Number of people who say they're afraid of needles. Number of people who play paintball. Because paintball can hurt if it right. It isn't perfect.
It's not can. It does. It's painful. It should. It leaves hematomas all over your body. Any bold predictions for 2022, Brad? As we finish off another successful year on the Brad and Britt cast.
Yes, it'll be the year before 2023. That's my prediction. That's about as far as I'm. No, I'll tell you what. You know what's going to happen in 2022. The Cleveland Browns will not go to another Super Bowl.
The safest prediction in the history of predictions.
That will make it 58 years solid since they won a championship. Since I was 9 years old. Cleveland Browns.
All right. Happy New Year, everybody. 4 tremendous shows coming for you next week.
And by the way, in case you missed the earlier part of the podcast, no dancing.
Don't dance.
No dancing allowed.
Go footloose.
And by the way, By the way, if that fucking poser Ryan Seacrest fucks up the Dick Clark show again, I've had it.
I just want to know who the executives in NBC that went, yeah, Pete Davidson and Miley Cyrus. I think that's who we need to pair together.
I'd rather watch that than fucking Ryan Seacrest.
Well, again, yeah, that's a low bar, but I'll give you that one.
I would.
That's a very low bar.
Count me in. I love Pete Davidson. I love. See, now think about this. Here's a guy at his age who learned the power of self-effacing comedy, making fun of himself. How did he know that so early? And Ted fucking Cruz, who went to Harvard Law, and Donald fucking Trump, who's almost 80, they don't get it. But Pete Davidson gets it. How did that happen?
And he bangs all the hottest women. And he's
exactly.
And he's probably going to overdose in 2022.
If he hasn't by now, I think he's made it through. Although he's got that. He's got that 27th year thing coming up. We got to worry about him.
He's got immunity from overdose. He's built up herd immunity from overdose.
But that year 27, that's the year, right?
That's
Jim Morrison, Jimi Hendrix, Janis
Joplin,
Joplin,
yeah,
right. John Wayne, they all died.
John Wayne, I wish. Right. We'll see you next week. Walter Brennan.